Live from the Pines, episode 91, your favorite East Texas sport podcast, also your favorite Texas high school football podcast, coming at you live tonight. Tonight we welcome special guest, athletic coordinator, head football coach, North Forney High School, Marcus Shavers. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Doing well, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be on here.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on and do this. I know you got a busy, year. It's a busy time of the year for you. Football season, we're in full force now. District play started, so anytime a coach takes his time out today to come on and talk to us, we appreciate everything y'all do.
No doubt.
So, Coach Shavers, before we get started, tell us a little bit about who you are, where it started for you at, and how you got to the point where you are now.
Yeah, so my name's Marcus Shavers. Born in Dallas, raised in North Dallas, spent most of my time all over the North Dallas area in the Metroplex, ended up settling and graduating from Allen High School. Went from there to University of Arkansas, got into coaching, had assistant coaching stops at West Mesquite, Wichita Falls. Got my start at Wichita Falls, and then ended up going to West Mesquite, then get my first head coaching job out in Lubbock. I was at Estacado High School for 2 years, left there, was at McKinney for 6 years, and now I'm going into my second year here at North Forney High School.
Well, you've been around a lot of successful football programs, McKinney, Estacado, graduated from Allen, played at the University of Arkansas, Wichita Falls, all those different places. You've been there. You didn't say Wichita Falls, did you? You said
yeah, Wichita Falls. That's where I got my start. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said that. I was making sure. But Coach Shavers, coming out of Dallas,
success there though.
What'd you say?
Said we didn't have a whole lot of success there though.
Hey, you got to lose some before you win some.
Yeah.
So, Coach Shavers, being in that Dallas area, playing in Allen, getting to go to the University of Arkansas, what did it mean to you to get to play Texas high school football and then go play, for the Razorbacks?
Yeah, it was everything. I was a fan of Texas high school football, so then to have an opportunity to get to play on Friday nights was a dream come true for me. I think that playing Texas high school football, specifically in the Metroplex, the type of competition we got to play, the type of coaching that we received, I think it really gave us an advantage when we got up to the hill, because when we got up to the University of Arkansas, you get to college and you intermix with all these different guys with different program experiences, and I felt like I was just prepared, prepared to lift, prepared to take hard coaching, prepared to, for the rigors of balancing the class schedule and the athletic schedule. And so it definitely put me at an advantage coming from Allen, being able to go up there and play.
I'm not taking any spotlight from you, but I like how you say that, though. You were prepared to go to college and all that, but something that's funny to me that sticks out a lot in Texas high school football is East Texas. A lot of college coaches say when they love to recruit kids from East Texas, because when they get to college, they already know how to be in the weight room. They already have the size and structure and discipline and all those things, and that goes a long way. And I'm sure y'all have the same thing especially coming out of Allen. That's a prestigious high school football program right there. So, anytime a coach gets a kid from Texas, I feel like you just get a different, type of kid.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. At North Forney, we have a lot of kids that have gotten recruited, a lot of kids with offers, a lot of kids committed to colleges. And, we talk to those college coaches, and they always say, man, we're going to always come get kids from your program. Good college coaches recruit programs. And you see, that's why our kids have a lot of success, because I think coaches believe that when they come to North Forney High School, to a Marcus Shavers-led program, they're going to see structure. They're going to see discipline. They're going to see kids consistently in the weight room, being held accountable for who they are off the field, as well as, in the classroom and the whole deal. And they feel like if kids can have success in my program, then they're going to be able to go have success at the next level.
That's very true. If anybody watched the game Saturday, the Cotton Bowl, Texas versus Oklahoma, they asked Steve Sarkisian about, Trey Watson played at DeSoto, Malik Muhammad played at South Oak Cliff, all those guys, Colin Simmons. There's many more to name, that played in the Metroplex. And Steve Sarkisian said it best: recruit the Metroplex. You get a different style of kid. And something that I like to say, no shade to any coach out of Houston, you can't compare Dallas and Houston anymore. It's too much winning going on in Dallas. Yeah. Not saying the teams out of Houston are good, but there's a lot of programs out of Dallas getting it done.
Yeah, a lot of respect for our coaches out in Houston, but Yeah, I think Dallas, I mean, I just think the Metroplex stands on its own. I'm biased. I played here. I've coached most of my career here, and I'm very biased about the type of coaches, the type of programs, the type of resources, and just flat out talent that we have to go around from top to bottom in the DFW compared to any region in the state of Texas. I think this is the best high school football in the world played in this area.
I got to agree with you, Coach. Other than East Texas.
Yeah. Now, a lot of respect for East Texas now. It's tough football played out there. That's why I was so excited to come on this show because, I watched it. I saw it pop up. And, of course, I saw a lot of good coaches that I'm fans of coming on the show. And I'm like, what is this live from the Pines? And then I'm like, man, okay, East Texas. It just feel right for East Texas to be in the conversation, to have a podcast because
Piney Woods, baby.
Got respect for East Texas, man. It's a reputation that precedes y'all when you talk about football and tough, hard nose, get it out the mud football. I talked to you before we came on the show about my first experience with East Texas, and that was as a sophomore playing Lufkin. Javorski Lane sophomore year, and so it's different out there. Y'all got a lot to be proud of.
Well, we thank you, Coach. We take pride in football here. Coach Shavers, a little bit of something I want to talk to you about. So being in that North Forney area, or being in the Forney area, and you having two feeders, two schools right there, basically two feeder schools. You know what kids you're going to get, you know what kids they're going to get, yada yada yada. What stands out the most to you about the area you're in? Like as far as being a coach, athletic coordinator, how do you go about molding your program, with success? And like you said, we constantly in the weight room, all those things, preaching all those things, and making kids believe that going to North Forney is the real deal.
Yeah, no doubt. I think first of all, we're blessed because here in North Forney, we got it's a high growth area, fast growth area. So we got a lot of houses popping up out here, a lot of people moving this direction. So a lot of land around our school, more houses coming. I think our school enrollment is growing tremendously every year. But to answer your question, I mean, we're set up for success here. We have two middle school feeders, right? That Jackson and Brown Middle School that feed right into us. Personally, we want to go and try to build a fence around those middle schools. We want to make sure that the kids are supposed to come to North Forney, that the kids that live in Forney, in the Forney city limits and are zoned to North Forney know that they don't have to go to school anywhere else except for North Forney High School in their own backyard to be able to develop and to get the exposure that they need to go play on the next level. I think the most important thing to do that is go show them that. We go win games. We don't just talk about it. We go out there and we go win games, and we go get kids recruited and get them sent to college. And I, as well as coaches on my staff, have a successful track record of being able to do that. We want them to know that it's possible to go and get developed and to get the exposure that you need by coming and playing at a school where college coaches are going to come recruit our program because of how our programs ran.
That's huge. Something that you talked about a lot is having a lot of Division I athletes. As far as you being the head coach and your staff, how do y'all go about managing, having that much talent on a roster? A lot of people can get, a lot of schools are blessed to have 1 to 2 kids, maybe 1 kid. Some have none. But, having the talent that you have, how do you go about that as far as, culture in the locker room, culture on the field, culture in practice? Because the way I look at it is if I was a head coach, in y'all's shoes or anything, I would expect the most out of those guys as far as leadership. People are looking up to you. The kids want to be, they want what you have. And the way to go about it is being a leader.
Yeah. We talk a lot in our program about adding value to our brand. We talk about what does this North Forney logo that we wear mean to you? What does this NF mean? And so before we got here, people will look at that NF logo and a certain thought will come to mind and whatever. That could be positive, it could be negative. But what we have an opportunity to do is add value to our brand and add value to our logo. And how we do that is just in everything that we do. How you go to class, how you lift, how you play, all of those type of things. And so with our kids in our program, we tell them, look, we're all here for one reason. The only reason why I'm the coach here, why you guys are playing here, is because y'all decided to play football, all right, for your high school and add value to what North Forney football represents. And so by doing that, that comes with a certain level of responsibility. You're not regular. You're not basic. You can't do things that the next guy does. You have to go and carry yourself in a way that adds value to our brand. And if you do that, if you're an individual that adds value to the brand, all individuals will all eat off the brand essentially. And that's what we try to get those guys to understand. Like, we know everybody has individual goals. And that's okay. It's okay for you to have individual goals to go aspire to do something else. But man, we play football. This is the ultimate team sport. So everything that you got going on has to go really sell into, the team and to the logo and to add value to that brand. So not only you, but your teammates and the coaches around you are able to eat off of that brand. And we've been fortunate to be able to get that message across and have some really, really good kids who buy into that and are seeing the fruits of that labor.
As far as yourself, what are you seeing different from year 1 to year 2 and the kids and the program and everything around, all the way from the middle school up to the high school?
Trust. I think it starts with myself. When I came in here, I didn't know anybody. I knew what I wanted to do as a program. I knew the coaches that I was bringing in were really good coaches, but we hadn't had enough time together, coach to player, player to coach, coach to administrator. We hadn't just had our whole deal meshed together just yet. And so, there was a lack of trust early on. I firmly believe that trust is truth over time. I learned this from Coach Traylor down at UTSA. Trust is truth over time. And when I first got here, honestly, we didn't have the time built in to be able to have the trust that was needed to go run a solid football program. That trust grew with the individuals, with the players, with the coaches. And now there's trust all the way around. Our players trust me. Our players trust our coaches. Our coaches trust me. I trust our coaches. And so it's a full deal administration, the whole thing. There's a lot more trust because of truth over time happening. And so I think that's the biggest difference. And when that happens, it's really enjoyable to coach and play football.
So, when you first got there last year, were you senior, junior heavy, or were you, young?
We had a good mix, to be honest with you. We were definitely underclassmen heavy when I first got here, but we had some really terrific seniors. We were blessed to have a really good core group of seniors who gave me a chance and gave our staff a chance. But, we returned 16 of 22 starters. And so we played a lot of juniors and some sophomores last year, but the senior group that we had, man, those guys were critical to us being able to lay a foundation for our program.
When you talk about laying a foundation, what does that look like in the day-to-day aspect of North Forney football?
Yeah, I think it's just making sure that our kids understand that everything that you do either is going to add value or take away value from our brand, from our logo. And so getting them to understand that as a North Forney football player, you have a set of expectations for you in the classroom, in the community, how you treat each other. We had to really define what culture is because people throw it around all the time. And I was fortunate to be at the AFCA clinic a couple years ago, and I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but the head coach at Marshall, I got to hear him speak. And he had been at Alabama, been at a couple places, and he defined culture as how you act, how you interact, and then how you react. And that's how they kind of define culture in their program. And so we defined that in our program, and we had to start pointing out on examples of how we act, how we interact, and how we react, and how those things could either add value to our program or take value away from our program. And we didn't want to have people around our brand that were taking value away from it. And so it's every day. It's letting those guys know that in the classroom, on the football field, in the weight room, that there's a standard that's going to be, communicated to you, and you're going to be expected to follow it. And if you don't, there's going to be a set of consequences, and it's not going to change. It's not going to stop. And so we started laying that foundation and got guys to buy in. We lost some players, We gained some players, and we had a lot of players stick with it and stayed around and had the best football playing experience they've had their whole life.
That's part of change. You're gonna lose some, you're gonna gain some, you're gonna keep some. That's just part of how it goes and change. And that's in the day-to-day world. Because like people don't realize, football teaches kids a lesson. It teaches them life skills. It teaches them all kinds of things. And like Coach RT said yesterday, it pretty stuck out a lot to me, is teaching kids a schedule. How to go about a schedule. How to be, I guess you would say, an employee, basically. Because one day you're going to have some kids that make it to the next level and get to play NFL football on Sundays. But the goal is, at the end of the day, is to go to college, doing something you love and receive an education. Like you yourself, you had a chance to go to the University of Arkansas. You graduated from the University of Arkansas, and now you're doing something that you enjoy to do, you love to do, and something you care about. Like you said, you were a Texas high school football fan already in high school. And, I had a coach say something one time on the podcast that stood out a lot. He has a couple kids who are on the program that just have values and want to be a coach. They don't play sports, but they have the dream to be a coach one day. And just being around that program and watching you guys and what y'all do day to day is building that kid up for his chance to go be a head coach one day.
Yeah, it's cool. It's pretty surreal to me because this year I have 2 guys on my staff who are guys that I've coached at some point in time. So I've actually hit that age now where I'm hiring guys that I've had on, in the program. They can tell stories about me as a coach. And now, we're working together to try to go do the same thing for kids. But, man, everything that we do and everything that Coach RT was talking about was spot on. I think it's so important to prepare kids for whatever's next, not just college football. We talk about the Division I guys and the guys going to play college football in our program.
Trade schools.
But there's so many things. Guys going to military, trade school, whatever it is that they're going to do. We want their time in our program to help propel them forward toward whatever it is that they go do. And so, we got a policy in our program, and guys that know me and know our program know the 3-strike policy. Like, you get 3 times to miss practice without communicating before we remove you from the program, right? What is that about? Just like you, there's no job in America anymore that you can get where you can miss work without calling in. And we want to teach kids that accountability measure. And so very seldom do you have guys break that, right? Because this is simple. We don't even grill you. Hey, I ain't going to be there. We allow text messages and emails. But if you don't communicate that you're not going to be at a practice, at a weightlifting session, at a film session, that's a strike. If you get 3 strikes, you're somebody now that we can't trust because there's no accountability to you being here. And you got to learn the hard way. And so hopefully by doing that, it teaches kids that, man, once I commit to something, a job, a family, whatever the case may be, I have to be accountable for my presence within that deal. And so, we have guys all the time, freshmen usually, that hit that 3 strike and say, Coach, like, give me one more shot. And I was like, man, you had 3 times where all you got to do is call in. You'd have been fired after your 2nd time at McDonald's. So, understand what it is that we're doing that for.
A lot of times the first time.
Most times the first time.
No show.
But I'm trying
no show.
I'm trying to be a hope dealer. So
you gotta, you're building young men.
Yeah.
Coach Shavers, what's the day-to-day life look like for a North Forney football player?
Man, we got a crazy schedule that I hope our board looks at sometime in the future. But our kids are burning the candle from one end to the other. We start off on a Monday morning with a 7 a.m. weightlifting session that'll go from 7 to about 8. Then our kids will shower and they'll go off to class. Class will start for us about 8:45. They'll come back down at about 3:30 and we'll do meetings. After meetings, we'll go get dressed, get taped, and then we'll head out to practice every day about 4:40. And then we'll practice, hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the schedule. And then we let those guys go home at 6:45. They'll repeat that same schedule on Wednesday. Tuesday, they get to sleep in because there's no weightlifting, and so they don't have to show up till 8:40 for their first class, but we got pretty late nights during the week around here, and so our kids have to really work on that balance of time management. Like, how much time can I actually spend?
What'd you say earlier? Getting kids prepared for the next step.
Yeah, that's what it is. You got to balance that PS5 time with homework time and all the above.
We got a former player, Cordell Rogers. He played at Texas State. He coaches at Lufkin now, and he was over at the house the other day. And he was like, we're watching college football, and he was like, when they get back tonight, they're going to have to get up the next morning, and the week starts over again already. And I was like, they don't get a day off. He's like, you're going to get a day off Monday, but Sunday, you got to go through, you got to work out. I mean, yeah, Sunday, you got to work out, and then you're going through basically install for the next week.
Yeah. It don't stop. Like for a coach, you play that game on a Friday, you're breaking down film Saturday, all day Sunday, and it's not a ton of time anymore to even enjoy winning, because you got to get, especially in our district, you got to get right on to the next opponent and spend as much time on them as you can.
So, you talk about y'all's district and everything. What do you do to prepare for that district from the off season to spring football? What's it look like?
With us, the off season is a big factor. We're going to live 4 days a week. We're going to get it in that weight room. We're going to live 4 days a week. We're going to run 4 days a week, and then we're going to skill 1 day a week during the first phase of our off-season program. We want to be strong. I think a lot of Coach King and the Longview program, when I was at McKinney, we really wanted to try to model as much as we could our program after that one. We played them, and so we got to learn a lot about them. And we, in order to play our style of football in any phase of the game, you're going to have to be physical. And in order to be physical, you can't be physically dominated in football games. And so we believe in the weight room. We lift our kids. I've never started a skill player that didn't run track. And I'll never start a skill player that doesn't run track. We want fast guys on the football field. The fastest guys come off the track. And so if you're a wide receiver, DB, running back, and you don't run track, you won't start for me. We believe in that wholeheartedly. We play good people. You got to be fast to be able to compete in this district. And then, it's just about coaching details and having a scheme that sets, you look at the teams in this district, they all have, tenure. They all have coaching tenure. They all have cultures that have been in play for a really, really long time as it pertains to, their programs. And so we want our kids to be well coached. And so you got to have a detailed, organized plan to be able to, execute that. You can't just make it up as you go, or you'll end up getting exposed. And so that's a lot of what we do in terms of trying to develop our kids to go play the best football in the state.
How do you handle multi-sport athletes that play football for you?
First of all, we love multi-sport athletes that play football. We want them in the off season. We want them lifting with us. And then we want them to go do their second sport after school. There's a couple exceptions. If we have a varsity basketball player, really all of our basketball players, we have to let go. It's such a skilled sport. We have to get those basketball players, in the gym. And so all our basketball players, they'll go to the gym. Our basketball coaches do a great job of lifting them and keeping those kids strong. The next part of that is the guys who aren't playing varsity, the sub-varsity baseball, sub-varsity soccer players. We'll have those guys lift with us, and then they'll go and do their second sports after school.
So as far as, basketball, you said you send to basketball. What about baseball?
Varsity baseball players will let go to the baseball period. We want our varsity second sport guys to go be full-time And whatever time there is available for them to go work on their baseball skills, we want them to be able to go and do that. It has to be trust with that coach if it's a true dual sport kid that they're going to lift. That's our biggest thing. You can go play baseball. We've had it before. Our spring ball schedule is built to have kids be able to come and be a part of spring football in some capacity while playing baseball. I got this schedule from meeting with the previous staff at Prosper High School, and they share a lot of football, baseball players there at Prosper. And so when we got a varsity kid, we allow that kid to go be with the baseball team. We just set up for that guy to come meet with our strength and conditioning coordinator or with his position coach in the mornings to get the lifts in, and then they go and get all their skill in. Because, you know, those basketball, baseball, just extremely skilled sports, and those guys are able to go out there and do that full time.
But I like what you did say, though. You got to keep lifting. You can't get behind just because you're in a second sport.
No.
And, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, some coaches don't lift their kids, but, you know, lifting as a baseball player and a basketball player is completely different than lifting as a football player.
Yeah.
It's just completely different. No, you know, you can't sit there and say it's the same. Nothing's the same about it. The workouts are, you know, they're catered to different aspects. I just feel like football kids you have to lift heavy, especially playing the district y'all are in, and you know, a lot of schools are in. You have to be strong.
Yeah.
You got to be fast.
Yeah.
And skilled kids, like you said, you got to run track. That's just part of it. You got to go get faster. You should want to go get faster. Nobody enjoys it.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to go do it. You got to go do it. It just, man, you look at all these, you look at high school football where it's at now, and I like to talk about Atascocita a lot. Atascocita is that's a track program. You know, they're going to have kids. Duncanville's going to have kids. DeSoto's going to have kids. Those are track schools. But if you look at it, a lot of those kids are football kids. Look at Caden Durham.
Yep.
You know, like that sticks out a lot. What he's doing when he was doing on the track, Quentin Gibson, DeCoria Moore, you know, Blaylock kids, all those kids, what they're doing on the track transfers to the football field. If I put you in open field and you break a tackle, the likelihood of you catching Caden Durham, DeCoria Moore, Quentin Gibson, all those kids out there, it ain't happening.
Yeah. It was so important for us when I was at McKinney. There was a track coach, an assistant track coach on the boys team at Duncanville. At the time, name was Lakedra Stewart. Heard all about her. This girl, this female that was coaching male sports, coaching boys track at Duncanville. And I would see on social media, so many of the Duncanville football players would credit Coach Stewart for their success on the football field. This was like Duncanville's winning state championships. And so we had an opportunity. She's Coach Haynes now. We had an opportunity to go out and get her to McKinney. I don't know how. By the grace of God, she came and took over as the head coach of all our male and female track program. And what her time spent with our football players, we got a safety, Xavier Filsamy, was one of the fastest in the state his senior year. He plays safety at Texas right now. Those guys will tell you that their experience working with Coach Stewart or Coach Haynes as our track coach set them apart and allowed us to be able to go make a run and play on Thanksgiving and do some of the special things that we did there. This place will be no different. We went out and we hired excellent track coaches because track is as much a part of our foundation of development as anything else. It's as important as anything else.
That's true, though. You know, speed kills.
You got to make sure, though, that your track program is aligned with your football program. Too many times you don't have those two on the same page, and it's not as beneficial. In my experience, when the track program is aligned with the football program, meaning the weights that we lifted today are going to correspond with the track workout of the day. When those two things are aligned, you got an opportunity to really, really develop some amazing athletes.
That's, you know, you got to get on that schedule, man.
A lot of them born that way too, but you got to be able to sharpen them up a little bit along the way.
You got to get on that schedule, man. You got to get that speed going. And I think that's what sticks out the most in the Dallas area is speed, because it's a lot of speed in that area. And it's a lot of speed in Houston, but like Dallas is, they got some guys out there that can roll.
No doubt. And we got some really good coaches out here, like our offensive coordinator, Charles Hitchens, that are just great in putting that speed in space and being able to get those guys in a position to where they can use that speed to go make plays. Yeah.
So you say that, you look at like the Kansas City Chiefs, you bring in Xavier Worthy. Look how they're using Xavier Worthy. I was watching the game Sunday night and they ran a play, and the commentator was telling you don't see that a lot in the NFL. That's more of a high school college football play, but they're using their weapons at their best ability. They're taking advantage of that because that's what it's come to, man. Like the game of football as a whole has changed. A lot of people used to line up an aisle, run the ball, throw the ball up, that. You don't have to do that now. Like I had Eli Reinhardt on there, and he was talking about Quentin Gibson when he had Quentin Gibson. And he said something that stuck out. He was like, I used to tell, like, our quarterback, we used to tell him, just get the ball to Quentin Gibson. He's going to be open. He's like, it's going to happen because he's going to run by everybody.
Yeah. It's funny you bring him up because, just as a fan of Texas high school football, I sat there and I got to watch North Crowley make that run last year. And I just watched how Coach Reinhardt used not only Quentin, but just all the guys.
They had plenty of guys.
This is how he used those guys in a variety of ways. And what was cool was getting to hear Coach Reinhardt speak at a clinic somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but I'm sitting there listening to him speak at a clinic, and he just showed, whether he was in a slot T or some type of, wing T style offense at some place in the past. His philosophy of being able to get the best player to football in a variety of different ways had always been the same. It looks different at North Crowley than it looked at, a place in another state that he was at. But that philosophy remained the same. And that's
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, man. No doubt.
Coach Avery's looking at this season, looking at the kids you have right now, what stands out the most about them? What have you seen different from these kids, from the kids you had in the past? You've been there 2 years now. You're not all the way established where you want to be, but you're getting to that point now, and the kids are starting to finally believe, like you said, the logo. That stands out a lot. But what are you seeing different in the kids?
They expect success, and it's crazy. It sounds so cliche, but like, when I first got here, we were all, I don't know if it was just the energy, we were looking at each other and we were like, that kid's been successful before. That kid's been successful before. That coach has been successful before, but we've never been successful together. And so when we would play games, it was like, can we win this game? Is this a game that we can actually compete in? Are we a good enough team to compete in this district? It's grown from that to a tremendous confidence of feeling like that our kids belong here. And we go into games now and we expect to win. And I think that's why the other night's game was so upsetting, because our kids really went into that game expecting to win. And we got hit in the teeth and by a really good football team and a good staff, and we got to regroup and get it figured out for the next one.
So that North Forney versus Forney game, what's the environment like for a game like that?
It's a lot of people that are really interested in that game. A lot of folks come out, but I've had the, opportunity to be a part of some pretty cool rivalries in my coaching career. I got to see Wichita Falls High and Ryder. I got to see McKinney Boyd. Forney, North Forney is by far the game that the people in the town are the most interested in. That's by far our biggest attendance to a game. There's by far the most excitement in the air for a game. But really and truly, it's not our district's so competitive, man, that lasts for a week and then you're moving on to the next. But it's a lot of energy. It's very obvious that both fan bases want to beat the other one.
That's what makes Texas high school football so great.
Yeah, man. I don't like friendly rivalries. If you're gonna call it a rivalry, let's be rivals. You know, I'm talking like LSU Arkansas rivalry. You know, Arkansas Texas. Like I want it to be that way. And if it's not that, you know, we're gonna do it the Texas way regardless. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to beat your opponent. I mean, there's nothing unsportsmanlike about that, about really wanting to win a football game.
So, you know, just me asking off the top of my head, what did last season, you know, what did y'all end up at last year?
What were we last year? That's a good. I think maybe 8-4. I think we finished 8-4. Maybe. Yeah. We were 8-4.
8-4, 5-1 in district.
Yep. We were 8-4. We lost to the Lobos of Longview. We lost to Plano East and Skyline early in the season, trying to get our tracking, and then we lost in the second round to Waxahachie.
So those kids get to get a taste of what it feels like to make it to the second round last year. How do you think that's transpired into this year for these kids that want to get a taste of playing in December this year?
Man, I think experience is so important. I think that you have to go through certain phases of growth as a program, and sometimes in those growth phases, you're gonna take some L's. But the way our coaching staff has approached every loss that we've had since we've been here is with a lot of learning about what we did that week of practice for preparation that led to us not performing well enough to win the game. What things actually happened in that game that we need to work on so we can stop it from happening again. We looked at Waxahachie, another program that we got a tremendous amount of respect for, good football players, a really, really good coaching staff. Think the world of Coach Tolleson. And he told me after that game, you know, I've lost this game, you know, 2 or 3, or been in this game 3 straight years and lost the previous 2. And losing this game made our program what it is. And he felt like he'd do the same thing for us. And I appreciated him saying that. But I think that's the deal. You lose the good competition like a Waxahachie in the second round. You lose to a good program with a well-coached staff, you know, like Rockwall Heath. It exposes your weaknesses. And so when you get exposed like that, you don't have a choice but to go back and fix the things that you got exposed on. And then your next time out, I think you're that much better from it if you do it the right way. And fortunately for us, we got the coaches and the kids that I believe have the ability to respond the right way.
That's, you know, like you said, though, those L's are humble.
Yeah.
They either make you or break you, you know.
Yeah, man.
I think a lot of kids need to do a lot of losing sometimes. I think losing helps kids because it builds you, it shows you how to lose, but it makes you appreciate the wins.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of kids are so, you know, used to instant gratification and, you know, they expect things to happen immediately, you know, like we're going to do this immediately, you know, this is going to happen immediately. Like, you know, just because like this is something that stands out a lot to me. We've seen it happen a lot this year. You know, this season has shown us a lot, and there's a lot of teams that have went out and beat teams they shouldn't have beat. And I'm not saying they couldn't have beat those teams, but they shouldn't have beat those teams. Right. But it also goes back to show you a lot of these teams that took these early season L's, you're going to see them in January. You know, no matter what happened in September, I mean, August to September, you'll still see that team playing in December. And, you know, they're going to go back and look at that week 2, week 3 loss, and it's going to pay off when, you know, you're still playing football when that team that, you know, beat you probably going to be at the house. Yeah,
maybe. Quite possibly. You know, it's like a conversation we have all the time about curb and consequences for kids. That's to your point. Like I got a 11-year-old son, and I think in an effort of me trying to be a good dad, I'll curve consequences for my son. Like, hey, Mason, I told you to do something. If he didn't do it, you're going to have this consequence. And then I may cut that consequence in half, you know, because I feel bad for him or something like that. He's never really going to learn that lesson until you feel real consequences for your decisions and for your actions. Man, you're not going to learn the right lessons. And so I've had to learn that personally. I've had people around me that have had to learn that. I've had teams that have had to learn that. Real consequences teach real lessons. And so I told our kids after the game this past week, I said, man, if you hurt right now, you should be. It hurts. It hurts to put your best foot forward and lose a football game.
Especially when you come back like y'all came back.
Yeah, it hurts. But, man, that's kind of, how often do you deal with that in life?
That's life.
You put your best foot forward and you don't have the level of success that you thought you were going to have. What you going to do? Like, who are you when it all goes to shit? And so that's what I want. That's why I'm so proud of not only the way that they responded in the second half of that football game, but the way they responded in practice today, the way they responded in weights today.
Like you said, though, I want to stop you right there. Yeah. How important is Monday through Wednesday?
Oh, it's critical. It's the lifeblood of your program. Preparation is everything that you got going on. I mean, I just don't think that you're going to have any success if you don't do it the right way during the week. We got this recipe that we follow that we feel like, where it talks about these are the key elements of trying to win a football game in our district or win a football game in general. And the first bullet point on that deal is prepare right and well. If you don't prepare right and well, you're going to have no chance of winning. What does that look like? It's being right, first of all, about what your opponent's going to do and how you're going to want to attack it, and then preparing it the right way. I've seen it all too many times, man, where we hadn't had a good week of prep in one area or the other. Our O-line or our secondary, maybe didn't have the best week. And then we get to the game and they don't have the best performance. And, it goes back to that preparation. I think in our case, when you winning hides a lot. And so we've been able to win. And some of the things that got exposed this past week, maybe they've been issues. We'd have never known.
Without that L.
Yeah, without that L.
And, I'm glad you said that. Like I told you, I'm a Texas fan, everything, yada, yada. Texas loses to Florida. What did the media think? The media is sitting there saying, "Oh, Texas is over. It's done. It's they can't do it. They can't do it." And Steve Sarkisian said that we had a great week of practice. We're looking to go play a great football game on Saturday. And what they do, they go out there and win a ball game. Just because you drop one or two, there's always time to respond, but you have to respond a different way. Y'all could have kept losing. Y'all could have kept winning. Y'all could have won that ball game. But like you said, you would have never, everything's hidden. You would have never knew where your weaknesses were because the kids wouldn't have looked at that. They would just look at the W. They're on the next week. You might have addressed it next week in practice and everything, but you all know how a 14 to 18-year-old mind works. They're not trying to hear that. Yeah. All they worried about is coach, we won.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's that's why I say winning hides a lot. The emotions of losing the game sometimes fuel a player the next week of practice. The having to go and show your face after you lost a football game is humbling. And so I think that when you go back to the lab and you get back, all of a sudden the margin for error that we talk about all the time is not just the Coach Shaver speech now. It's something that now everybody in our locker room can give that speech. Because even if it's your first year on varsity, you've experienced, right, what it's like to go into a game and have those things exposed. And now what are you going to do your next opportunity? And that's the feeling that I get around our place. We got a bye week this week, but our guys are ready to go play a football game. And we can't wait for the next opportunity.
Well, Coach Neighbors, I thank you for coming on live from the Pines tonight. It's been great getting to sit down and talk to you about North Forney football. Wish you nothing but the best. Before we go, I want to give a big shout out to our guys at Zilker Belts. Use discount code PINES936 for online orders. Coach Shavers, you get a chance, go check the guys out. They got some blue and white, blue and black. It'll look good for your staff on Friday nights. Use discount code PINES936. They'll take care of you. But like you said, though, it's year two. I think you're building something great over there. It's obviously shown, numbers don't lie. and that's one thing about it. And winning brings a lot to the program. It brings the fans out, it brings involvement out, it makes the kids believe, like you said, and all those things. And I think y'all are going about it the right way. You still got a lot of football left to play this year. You got some good teams to go play, but like you said, losing hides a lot. I know your guys are working hard this bye week to get guys healthy and prepare for the next week. We'll prepare for the season. You got a lot of football left to play. You hope to see y'all playing in December. Hope to have you back on the show again, getting to talk to you in December. Yeah. So I wish you nothing but the best. And I thank you for taking the time out your day to come on Live from the Pines. It means a lot to us. And we're just trying to grow the show in the Texas high school football world. And we can't do it without you guys coming on the show and talking to us.
I thank you. I appreciate you having me on here. Love talking about our kids. Love talking about our program. And I appreciate y'all for what y'all do and shedding the light, shining the light on Texas high school football all over the state of Texas, right there from the Pines. And so I'm a fan of your show. I'm a fan of yours. Just really, really a lot of podcasts out there, but I like the way y'all do it on here. You can tell y'all got your research down, and it's all ball talk on here. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you again, Coach. Look forward to having you back on. Please go like, subscribe, follow Live from the Pines, and go give North Forney football a shout out. They're all over the socials. Go follow them. NFHS, $9 a year, baby. Tune in, watch some good football, Texan Live, all that. Go support Dave Campbell. Get out there, watch some football. I know what I'll be doing Thursday night. Everybody saw watching Thursday night football. I'll be watching high school football because it's the best time of the year right now. It's make or break time.
No doubt.